The river is the wrong color. That is the first thing the scholars notice, not the screaming, not the smoke rising in fat black columns above the minarets, but the water. The Tigris is turning black, not from mud, from ink. Books, hundreds of thousands of books, 5 centuries of Islamic knowledge are going into the river. The house of wisdom, gone. And then the water changes color again. Red. Because inside those walls, the 37th Caliph of the Abbasid dynasty, commander of the faithful, shadow of God on earth, is being rolled into a carpet and killed. No blade. No blood. The Mongols believed the earth was sacred. Royal blood must not touch it. So they rode their horses over him until he was gone. Baghdad is finished. But here is the question no one, not the fleeing scholars, not even Hulagu Khan himself, can yet answer. What comes next? To understand what the Mongols were, you must first understand what they were not. They were not builders, not administrators, not farmers. The steppe does not teach those things. The steppe teaches speed, hunger, the art of arriving somewhere before anyone knew you were coming. When Genghis Khan turned his gaze west in 1219, Persia was the cultural center of the known world. Isfahan was a city of gardens and geometries. Nishapur sheltered scholars who had mapped the stars. Merv, largest city on earth, held libraries containing works that existed nowhere else. Within 2 years, Genghis Khan erased all of it. Nishapur, 1.5 million dead, the accounts say. Merv, leveled so completely that archaeologists still find bones in the sand 8 centuries later. The Mongols did not just defeat cities. They performed a deliberate forgetting, salting the earth of human memory. But here is something the Mongols could not have known, riding west across that burned horizon. Persia had been destroyed before. Alexander came, the Arabs came, the Seljuks came. Each time, Persia did the same strange thing. It absorbed its conquerors, took them in like a slow tide, made them Persian. Something very old and very patient was already waiting. And it was not afraid. In 1251, the great Khan monkey makes a decision that will unmake the world. He chooses his brother Hulagu to lead the most ambitious Western campaign in Mongol history. Not a raid, a permanent conquest. Hulagu will destroy the Ismaili assassins in the Persian mountain strongholds, then march on Baghdad and end the Abbasid Caliphate, the symbolic center of Sunni Islam for 500 years. The order is almost casual. Kill the Caliph, take the land. Hulagu arrives in Persia with a force that Chinese sources estimate at 100,000 men. The assassin fortresses fall one by one. Nothing has ever done this. Nothing has ever done this to anyone. Then Hulagu sends a letter to Baghdad. Open your gates. Surrender. I will be merciful. The Caliph al-Mustasim writes back. Haughty, dismissive. He sends no army. He trusts in the weight of what he represents, the belief, genuine and 5 centuries deep, that God will not allow the shadow of God to fall. God is not consulted. On January 29th, 1258, Hulagu surrounds Baghdad. The walls hold 13 days. They do not hold. On February 10th, Hulagu enters the city. What follows is 40 days. The libraries burn. The scholars flee or die. The Caliph is taken to his treasury, the gold piled floor to ceiling, and Hulagu stands in it, surrounded by more wealth than most kingdoms possess. He feels, reportedly, nothing. Because gold is easy. What does a man who has just destroyed the center of the civilized world do next? He has to live in it. At first, it looks like pure, unstoppable domination. Hulagu pushes west. Aleppo falls in days. Damascus opens its gates. The Crusader states send ambassadors bearing gifts. Christian kingdoms whisper about alliance, a Mongol Christian pincer against the Muslim world. A Mongol empire stretching from China to the Atlantic seems not just possible, but inevitable. Even the survivors are beginning to wonder if resistance is simply a form of madness. Then, on the 3rd of September, 1260, at a spring called Ain Jalut, the Spring of Goliath, in what is now northern Israel, the Mamluk army of Egypt does something no fighting force has done before. They defeat a Mongol army in the open field. The wave breaks. For the first time since Genghis Khan looked west, the Mongol advance stops. The western edge of the empire freezes at the Syrian desert. Hulagu, already riding back north to fight his cousin Burqa Khan, who has converted to Islam and attacks from the Caucasus, understands something that never needed understanding on the steppe. This land is not going to disappear. He cannot outrun it. He cannot burn it faster than it grows back. He has to govern it. And governing requires what the Mongols have never needed. Administrators, tax collectors, judges fluent in Islamic law, engineers who understand the Khanate irrigation systems keeping the farmland alive. Every one of them speaks Persian. Every one of them carries Persian assumptions into the work. Hulagu is a conqueror trying to put on the clothes of a king. The clothes are Persian, and they are beginning to fit. But here is what the history books do not tell you. The Mongols did not transform Iran. Iran transformed the Mongols. From the moment Hulagu's armies settled into the river valleys, the absorption begins. Not through rebellion, not through armed resistance, through something far more patient than weapons: necessity. The Mongols could conquer. They could not write legal documents in Persian. They could not read the irrigation manuals. They could not administer the tax systems that kept the empire solvent. So they hired Persians to do it. And those Persians brought their language with them, their poetry, their religious practice, their entire way of imagining the world. The scribes outlasted the swords. Within a generation, Mongol princes commission Persian poetry. Their courts hum with the ghazals of Rumi and Sadi. They build mosques on the ruins of mosques they burned. They fund Persian miniature painting, a tradition that flowers under Mongol patronage like something growing through stone. And then, in 1295, Hulagu's grandson, Ghazan Khan, makes the decision that completes the transformation. He converts to Islam, not quietly, not privately. He brings 60,000 Mongol soldiers with him. Ghazan issues his laws in Persian. He builds a vast complex of mosques and schools in Tabriz. He commissions the historian Rashid al-Din to write a comprehensive chronicle of the Mongol Empire, and he demands it be written in the language his grandfather tried to erase. The new question is no longer whether the Mongols will survive in Iran. It is whether anyone can tell anymore where the Mongols end and Iran begins. Ghazan Khan reigns for 9 years, and he burns through them like a man who knows exactly how little time he has. He reforms the tax system. Persian administrators draft the edicts. He outlaws the arbitrary seizure of farmland from peasants, a Mongol practice that has been quietly turning the most fertile regions of Iran to dust. He rebuilds road networks his grandfather destroyed. He orders Rashid al-Din's Compendium of Chronicles, the most ambitious historical project the medieval Islamic world has ever seen, written, illustrated, and copied into both Persian and Arabic. He is rebuilding the library that Hulagu burned. Not the same library. Something different. Something Mongol and Persian at once, with no word yet for what that is. He dies in 1304, 33 years old. His body is laid in the mausoleum complex he built in Tabriz. Ibn Battuta, the great traveler, sees it decades later and calls it one of the wonders of the world. The Ilkhanate lasts until 1335. When it collapses, it does not collapse back into steppe culture. It dissolves into Persia. The successor states the Jalirids, the Muzaffarids are Persian in language, in law, in art, in ambition. The Mongols are gone, but they have not left. They have become the minaret walls, the manuscript margins, the irrigation channels feeding the wheat fields. They have become, in the deepest sense, Iranian. The men who came to destroy a civilization had been destroyed by it. And the civilization, battered, diminished, scarred beyond counting, lived. The conqueror always believes he is the agent of change. He rarely stops to notice that change is also happening to him. In the centuries that followed, the Ilkhanate's transformation rippled forward in ways no one had designed. The Persian administrative language the Mongols had been forced to adopt spread east and north. It became the court tongue of the Mughal Empire in India, the literary register of Ottoman educated classes, the language in which Babur wept, Centuries later, when he dreamed of his homeland, Rashid al-Din's compendium shaped how empires recorded their own histories for 300 years. The Persian miniature tradition, nurtured in Mongol courts, became the seedbed of one of the great visual cultures of the Islamic world. Today, when you read a ghazal by Hafez, who lived and wrote in the long shadow of the Mongol period, you are holding something that survived an extinction, not unchanged, marked, made stranger and more beautiful by what it endured. We look back at Hulagu Khan across 7 centuries and see a monster, a king, a paradox depending on which side of his legacy we are standing on. But before the titles, before the burned libraries, before his grandson knelt toward Mecca in the ruins of what he had built, he was simply a man on a horse, riding toward a world he did not understand, about to be remade by the thing he thought he had conquered. Every empire believes its violence is exceptional. Every civilization believes its survival is inevitable. Both are wrong, and both, somehow, are right. The river runs clear now. The Tigris flows through Baghdad, still past rebuilt libraries, past minarets, past a city that has been destroyed and rebuilt so many times the stones no longer remember which empire laid them. Hulagu Khan, destroyer, founder, ancestor. He came to end a world, and was unmade by it instead. The Ilkhanate he built from ash and blood lasted a century, long enough to pass something forward, long enough for the conquered to outlast the conqueror not by fighting, but by being impossible to replace. You cannot burn a language out of the air it lives in. If this story stayed with you, there are more waiting. We'll see you next time.